figured we would just talk about all my winter projects and plans for spring and whatnot. Just, I don't know. We were talking about this the other day, how we're in we're in that time in the winter in New England where you're just super sad and you just want winter to be over.
Yeah, and we're about to get another big bad storm.
Oh yeah, there's like 2 more months.
Another big bad storm. We actually have had a pretty easy winter, but...
Yeah. The winters around here are nothing like they were when I was a kid. I don't know why, but, global warming, but...
Yeah, I mean, I remember Michigan even having brutal ones, and I hear they still get pretty bad ones, but...
Yeah, when I was a kid, we would get snowstorms where there would be like 3 feet of accumulation. We'd get 3 feet of snow, like, at least once a winter we would have like one big storm like that. And now, the past 3 winters I've been here, back in New England, we haven't had more than 10 inches total.
Like, yeah, and maybe 1 or 2 storms that knock out the power per year.
Yeah.
Usually it's the high winds, though, that'll knock out the power before the...
Yeah, the ice, too. If we have, like, an ice storm, that'll really crush and stuff, but...
But I like to prep, like, after we record this, I plan on filling our bathtub with water just to make sure we have water for the dogs and that kind of stuff. I have a thing filled of drinking water, but that's more for us.
Oh, so. That actually reminds me. We were talking about this last time, and today when I was in the yard doing all my yard work and stuff.
Clearing out for the gardens.
Yeah, clearing out for the gardens, cleaning the coops, the usual.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered, right outside that back window, there's a well down there. It's got that big concrete slab on the top, and that's a well. So what I was thinking is come springtime, I'm going to take that concrete slab off, I'm going to look down there, and if there's good water and stuff down there, I'm going to get a well tap. I'm going to drive it down there, have a pipe come up to the top, and I'm going to attach a hand pump to it. And then I might have to, I don't think there's a hole in the middle of that concrete slab. If there is, I'll get a pipe that goes through it. But most likely what I'll do is once I have the hand pump all attached, I'll build a wooden box for it to sit on. So we'll have a hand pump well right outside there. And we can water the garden, we can water the birds, we can do all of that without using our actual house well system.
That's awesome. But we want to make sure it's going to be covered and with a heavy cover so no one can accidentally...
if that concrete slab doesn't have a hole in the middle of it, the box that it's going to sit on, you're not going to be able to get inside of it. It's going to be like a solid box closed on all ends, and it's just going to be to house the hand pump, and then obviously that thing.
It's going to be too heavy for someone to move it out of the way.
Yeah, you won't be able to move it out of the way. I'll drive posts into the ground around it and just cover it up. That's what my dad's neighbor growing up had a hand pump well like that, and that's how they had it set up. Is they had this wooden box built around the actual area it was tapped in. It looks nice when you do it, and honestly, I think that's how most hand pump wells are. Seldomly do you see just a hand pump with a pole coming out of the ground. And with a case like that, as long as it's clear down at the bottom of that well and it's not all fucked up or anything, it should be a relatively doable job. Nice. So that's a spring plan. But
that slab's gonna be heavy.
Yeah, I'll probably get my dad to help me move it off, and
you're gonna need someone else than your dad. Your dad has already talked about never moving that.
All right, well then I'll get you. Get you to move it off. I was about to be mean, but I was going to call you an oxen. But that's mean.
An oxen?
Yeah. Because they move stuff.
But isn't it a compliment? I'm strong enough?
Yeah. I think most women wouldn't.
Built like a bull!
I'm glad you took it as a compliment. Most women wouldn't. I think it's a compliment, but...
Listen, I look like my dad. I'm used to all the jokes.
Yes.
Jokes, compliments. They're one and the same, aren't they?
Of course.
Hell yeah, I'm an ox.
Dude, I think it's a compliment.
I mean, you didn't say cow, so...
Yeah. But, so that's a spring project that I have planned. but there's still a bunch of projects I gotta do between now and that one.
Which is clearing out the brush.
Clearing out all that brush.
Did you burn a lot?
I didn't burn anything today.
Oh, you just cleared it out?
I made a new brush pile that's out of the way of where the garden beds are going to be, and I'm just working on clearing all the spots out. And then once I clear out the brush from these areas, in a couple weeks, I have to take a day, and I'm going to have a day where I just do straight wood cutting. Because I've got to cut a bunch of, cut up a bunch of little, firewood size logs. Because I'm going to make, small wood piles as the barriers to these garden plots. Just to keep the dogs out and maybe deter the chickens. The chickens will probably figure out that they can just jump it. But, the dog here, that'll be enough for her to not want to go in there. And the other dog won't go in there anyway. But,
yeah, as long as you don't block off his brush peeing spots, because he really does like to bury himself in. Not
unfortunately,
the brush, just the bushes.
Those bushes right near where he likes to pee will stay. Yeah. It's that whole back corner area that's going to be cleared out, and then once all of the, so not only with the wood cutting, the wood that's already down there. There's all kinds of medium-sized locust trees all over the property. There's 3 outside in that lilac bush at the end of the driveway. I've got probably 5 or 6 in that area where I want to put the strawberries. I got to cut all of those down, and same thing, cut those into firewood-size logs and add them to this wood pile to make these barriers.
Are you going to keep the daffodils that grow randomly around the yard?
Yeah, I'll keep those. I have no plans for that area that they're growing in.
Yeah, they're just the side and the front.
Yeah. And then, once those barriers are built, then we just have to wait for warmer weather so we can prep all the soil and start making the trellises and the framework. I might have to make some small, makeshift fences too, here and there. But, ideally, some of the trellises I'm thinking of is for the berry bushes, for the blackberries and the raspberries. But yeah, that's my plan between now and when it's warm, when winter finally breaks and spring arrives, is do all that. And then when spring arrives, we can.
How are we going to keep the chickens out though?
Well, we already don't let the chickens out all the time. They're pretty much only out a couple times a week, for a few hours.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough keeping them out completely. Honestly, I'm going to wing it and see. I hope the woodpile barriers are enough. Probably won't be.
Yeah.
I know for this strawberry patch, I was going to actually build a stick fence.
Yeah.
To keep them out of there.
I don't know. I just wondered what your opinion was on those lightweight nets that are supposed to keep critters from getting the thing.
We do have a whole bunch of spare netting from the old overhead in the chicken coop that I just recently replaced, and I kept it.
You could maybe repurpose it and do a little bit of netting around it to keep things out.
That's what I was thinking. There's a lot of stuff.
Let's experiment with it.
Yep. I have one experiment too that I'm going to do as well.
Trial and error. I'm just going to be disappointed if we don't get enough stuff to can and actually do that come fall time.
Yeah.
Because our chickens ate it all.
Yeah. It's going to be, I don't think they're going to, they didn't last year. The garden was completely unprotected last year and they never went in there to tear it up. So, yeah, I think we're going to be all right.
But somebody showed someone tomatoes down there.
Yeah, so we have a dog that eats tomatoes, so that's why I need to build these wood pile barriers.
Because you showed her.
That's fine. Tomatoes are good for her. Look at her. Look how healthy she looks now.
Yeah, she is the poster child for athletic.
Yeah. That she is.
And healthy eating. No, she looks like a potato.
I know. I want to grow potatoes.
You want to grow rosies?
Yep. After all of the garden beds are done and ready to go, prepping the soil is always a workout. Because I do it all with hand tools.
Mm-hmm.
But That won't be too bad. We just gotta wait for the snow to be gone and the ground to be thawed. And then once that's ready, I'm hoping to start planting. We'll start some of the stuff in the house here, like the tomatoes, a few pepper plants. I don't know what else. I have to look at what else of all the stuff we're growing you start inside. But most of the stuff we're going to start, you go right outside with. So you have to wait until like early May around here before you move it out there. But yeah, that's my plan between now and spring. So, and obviously we have a few months to do that. So very doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, spring hits kind of late out here.
Yeah.
Because you'll still get snow in April and May.
One thing I wanted to do as well, because I ordered seeds a few weeks ago to have them, just have them ready now for spring. I accidentally ordered that one packet of wheat seeds. Even if I plant that whole pack of seeds, it's not going to be enough for to make flour or anything. Mm-hmm. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do an experiment. I'm also going to get a packet of rye seeds. I've heard where we live kind of in the more northern climate of the United States, that wheat doesn't do well up here. It's possible, but it doesn't do great. And that rye grows better. Rye is just a really hardy grain. It's why it's popular in Canada.
Because it's cold in Canada.
Yeah, it's why it's popular in Canada. It's not only does it do really well in the cold, but it does well in shitty soil as well.
Plus, rye bread's great.
Yeah, so I'm going to get some rye as well, and then probably a packet just like that. I'm going to grow, I haven't decided where, but I'm going to grow a little patch of wheat and a little patch of rye, and kind of just observe which does better. And the crop that I get off of both of these patches, none of it's going to go to flour. I'm going to save all the seeds from it and hopefully have a bigger yield next year to where we might be able to experiment with making flour and bread and whatnot.
Yeah, my only concern with that is we're going to run out of yard pretty quick because we're on just under an acre.
What I was thinking is, though, realistically, we're not going to be able to have a whole shitload. I think we could probably get away with about 200 square feet of a grain. It's not going to be all together, though. It's going to be 200 square feet in little 50 to 100 square feet patches in random spots all over the place. In areas that we know we're not really using, but gets good sunlight, I'll start growing grain there.
Yeah.
That was kind of my idea for it. I don't know if that will work. It's also going to depend on which is better, rye or wheat. And
yeah, because from our stairs to our fire pit, I would like to be clear, other than what's going to be on the side in your fence. That's obviously fine.
Yeah.
But I want us to have some backyard to have the dogs run around and that kind of stuff.
So that's I'm trying to make the best use, because I agree with that as well. I don't want to take away from the actual yard portion that we have. So I'm really trying to make
But where you have it planned right now, the snow area that we use, we've just been clearing it out for this purpose.
Yeah.
Even though you're going to get rid of my favorite grape tree, fine.
I'm going to keep that for a few years. I won't get rid of that until I know for sure I can have another grapevine established.
Yeah, it just looks so cool.
It does look really cool. It's really inconvenient where it's at because it shades a giant area of the garden. But yeah, we'll see though. The rye and wheat experiment I think will be cool. I expect the rye to do better, obviously, and then we'll end up doing that primarily. But I've just never grown grains. I don't know what they look like, how much a single grain plant produces. So it's very much I'm doing it to gather information, gather ideas for maybe next season to grow a more realistic crop to where we can I don't expect making a bunch of loaves of bread. My goal is to grow enough to make 2 loaves of bread. That's it.
Yeah.
Make them up, throw them in the freezer, have them with, little things here and there. But grain stores really well. That's obviously why with the peasants and in medieval times it was so popular, because you could grow a bunch of it and then it was super easy to preserve and keep throughout the winter.
Yeah.
So I
It's
think
also very filling.
Yeah. There is a little protein in it, so yeah, you can survive off of it. It's not ideal, but it's a good filler. It's obviously it's a staple in human existence and civilization. So I think knowing how to do it, even on a small plot of land like we have here, I think it's worth understanding and knowing how to do.
And how's your grain storage on Manor Lord?
Oh man, dude.
Or whatever game you've been
playing. Getting on Manor Lords later for sure. It's great.
Do you have a grain storage in there?
Yeah.
Or like, is it just food in general storage?
Yeah, there's like a general storage and then there's a granary where they keep all like the food and the grains and stuff. And then you have people that work out of those and they set up stands in the marketplace and sell stuff out of there.
Bub is here to chime in. I didn't think he was going to chime in this episode.
As usual.
What do you have to say about grain storage, Bub? Say something. You came out here all hot.
But other than between now and early spring, doing like the planting and getting the garden going, do you have any other ideas or plans or things we should look at that you can think of right now moving into spring? Well, because I mean that's what we're doing right now is we're just brainstorming and planning so that way we can position ourselves well to have like a good spring, summer, fall harvest season.
Honestly, I'd like to make fishing a little bit more of a priority over this spring and summer.
It's not a bad idea.
And even ice fishing too. Like I enjoyed the one time we went. I know we didn't catch anything, and then it's just been like bitter cold. So yeah. But I hope we get to do that before the end of the winter again. But I would actually like to see how much fish we could get and store, and I think we need a vacuum sealer to because that trout's been in there forever. That was
and that thing's still good.
Someone caught for us, and it's still good.
Just freeze it solid.
No.
Yeah. A lot of the lake fish. I like to catch trout and use trout and save it, but a lot of like the warm water lake fish, oh man, they're rough eating.
Yeah.
You can eat them. You certainly can eat them.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth at least trying them. But
well, I don't like catfish. I know that. Bass, I can do fried.
Honestly, we should probably get into saltwater fishing. Better fish from the saltwater is obviously better eating. We don't have a boat or anything like that, so it would be a lot of shore fishing for sure. So depending on the regulations and what we can keep and whatnot would be a little harder. But that reminds me too. Before spring, we got to do a foraging day at the beach because I need a bunch of stuff from the beach.
A foraging day.
That's what it is.
Real life Minecraft.
That's literally what we're doing though. We got to go there. I need Phragmite leaves for my rope and twine.
Mm-hmm.
I need a bucket of salt water so I can make salt.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need seashells to crush up and give to the chickens as like a calcium supplement.
Yeah, I have heard that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, so we do actually that's what it is. We got to go to the beach.
You could actually buy crushed seashells, so there's no reason we can't do that.
Yes, but the whole point of this is to not buy shit.
No, I'm saying that's I was agreeing. You misunderstood what I was saying.
No, I must have. And then,
I'm just saying, of course it's going to be okay to get seashells from the beach because you can buy them. So might as well just get them from the beach.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying why go to the beach when you can just
buy them.
You
just like me to always be wrong. Right, Bob? He's a heathen. Does feel a little Minecrafty.
What?
Foraging.
That's what we gotta do.
Or any game like that. Does that mean I can just randomly go around with a leash and leash animals and bring them home?
Sure.
Even if they belong to somebody else?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to do here on this property. It's just real life Minecraft. Real life Stardew Valley. That's what I'm trying to do.
Stardew Valley. There we go.
Yeah.
That one's a little better. That's foraging and gardening. We already got the house. We don't need to build it block by block.
Yep. Stardew Valley. That's what I'm saying.
That's good, yeah.
Stardew Valley in real life. That's what we're trying here.
Yeah. Real life Manowars would be kind of cool though.
Yeah, it would.
Preparing for battle and like all that.
Yeah, I think starting a like primitive, like self-sufficient like town, kind of like I think that would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like how the Pilgrims did it. The Pilgrims came here and like started this little town with like maybe 5 to 10 houses.
Listen,
that would be a kind of a cool thing to do.
I would still love to live on a like small commune.
Yeah.
You know, as long as there was no like cult affiliation or anything, but like an actual like even if it is a little hippy dippy like but an actual place where you have a couple houses and then you have gardens and livestock and everyone pitches and everyone reaps the benefits of having a garden and livestock.
I got so here's something that I've been thinking about for a while. It's like a kind of like a scenario question. So think about what you just described here. Like you have a commune where you and a handful of people are going to kind of rebuild and make a self-sufficient civilization. In this scenario, there's no outside industry or infrastructure. People are gone. Town's civilization is gone. Like this little group of, let's say, for this example, it's going to be 5 families, 10 adults, 4 kids. All right, so you have 10 adults. Of those 10 adults in this scenario where you're rebuilding a little civilization, what professions would you want these people to have? What's the most useful profession that you want them to have brought over from like the civilized world that they know how to do now that would be incredibly useful in that like isolated, no industry, starting from scratch civilization?
So I would definitely say somebody with basic medical background.
Medical's a good one. I think another one that's really underrated that is incredibly important, a construction worker.
Well, that's what I was gonna get
if you got somebody who can be a construction worker, that's pinnacle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely someone who knows at least, you know, I mean, most people know basic first aid. I'm not saying they need to be a surgeon or something.
That would be helpful.
But it would be helpful to have someone like that because usually they can figure out animals too. So if something goes wrong with your livestock...
I actually was just thinking about this. Yes, that would be helpful. I think in this scenario, a veterinarian would be better than a medical doctor. Because
your animals are going to be a little more important for your survival.
Animals are going to be important to survival, but also the medicine you're going to be doing is going to be very crude and primitive. And I think veterinarians are a little more equipped and probably a little more willing or experienced in doing the more primitive stuff than a physician who's been working in a high-tech hospital his whole career.
Then you just find one that's been a physician for the military in a combat zone.
Yeah, that would help too. But, and I mean, I guess you could make the argument for doctors as well. But yeah, you would want them to, the doctor who's taking care of the people also should be able to take care of the animals as well.
Yeah, no, it should go hand in hand. And I think a doctor's more likely to do both of those well than a vet to go both ways.
My argument for that, I'll explain it, my counter argument to that in a minute. But why do you think the doctor would be better?
I feel like humans, but I don't think a vet's going to know how to handle a human surgically.
I think they will, and this is why. Because medical physicians, they know how to work on people and people only. That's one biologic system, one chemical system that they're really good at. Veterinarians do dogs, cats, birds, all different animals that are biological beings and have different biologic systems and chemical systems that they know how to do. So the vet has more experience with dealing with different types of species. So I think them making the jump to people would be more realistic than the doctor making the jump to animals.
I think maybe like an equine vet where they're doing all kinds of different animals. But if you look at your standard veterinary office, it's dogs and cats mostly.
That's still more species than a medical doctor's doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's kind of what I'm saying is the veterinarian they practice medicine on different species of animals.
But why can't you have one of each? You said I get 10
yeah,
people.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, if you got 10 people, yeah.
Like one of each. Then 2 construction workers.
Yeah, so 2 construction workers. Because also, too, these people can teach the others as well. So as long as you have somebody who's got the info, you're good. So construction workers.
And no offense, like, I mean, I feel most people can figure out farming.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're doing it on a smaller scale. I wouldn't say commercial farming or, like, acres and acres and acres of land farming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that goes... So I don't see it like a need for a farmer.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
It would be nice, but, like, would it be necessary?
Wouldn't be a need. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, because right now, I mean, we got 10 adults. So, and we've got a carpenter, a vet, a doctor. Let's say we got a farmer, too. Why not? Knows how to make the crops.
I think I'd want someone who's... So, like, okay, 10 families. What, no one exists outside this commune?
No.
Like, there's no other survivors. It's just this.
Might be a few, but they're scarce.
But we don't have to worry about anything attacking us? Because that's where I'm going in, where I would like some...
I would say yes. Maybe, yeah, because if you're there and there's 10 of you, there's probably, far away, there could be another, like, similar thing. And you're going to run into the same problem civilization always runs into. Like, people are going to start marauding and shit.
Because I would like someone... probably more military, just because I think the survival's better than a cop, like the survival aspect. And someone who knows how to handle and teach others to handle weapons as well, like guns.
Yeah.
Plus, that person's likely gonna have guns.
An Air Force SEER specialist would be ideal. Yeah. Because they know how to handle guns. But they get such extensive training on survival and, like, not just, like, wilderness survival, but, like, the urban survival of, like, you're dealing with marauders coming, like, you're getting chased by people, like, they know how to, they're just survival everything. What is it again? A SEER specialist.
So why'd you say Air Force specifically?
Because the Air Force is the one that makes those specialists. The other branches, they might have some people who have certificates,
and
but
they don't. School.
Yeah, and go to the SEER program. But the SEER program is designed and run by the Air Force, and they have specific people who are like the top experts in that field, which I think is a sick job. That's a pretty sick one. That's a cool thing to be.
I mean, my brother went to SEER school.
Yeah, like I look back at it now, and I'm like, you know, I was a Navy corpsman. It was cool being a medic, but I look back at that, and I'm like, with the stuff that I like and I'm interested in, being an Air Force, like, SEER specialist would have been so much fun for me. But, you know, there's all kinds of stuff where I'm like, oh, I would have liked that. But, yeah, so...
And then probably someone who's, like, familiar with, like, you know that maintenance guy I have at work?
Yeah.
He's just very savvy with everything. And it's because the man's had 20 different jobs throughout his lifetime.
A tinkerer.
But, yeah, a tinkerer, because he's been a carpenter, he knows plumbing, like, he does more that goes outside of his maintenance job because he's handy.
Yeah.
So, I guess tinker, handyman, whatever you want to call it, you'd want some of those people, the people that can actually think of how things, like, connect and work, too.
Yeah. I guess a plumber would be useful, too.
Yeah.
For irrigation.
Plus water sanitation, too. They usually have a pretty good understanding of that as well.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see what we have. So we have a carpenter, or construction worker. A doctor, a vet, a farmer.
I don't think we need a farmer.
Why not? We'll get farmer will be the first to go if we think of other things. So farmer, military guy, combat arms military guy, tinkerer, maintenance person, and a plumber.
Yeah, I kind of meant maintenance.
I think we should have them both right now.
Like, maintenance and tinker.
Yeah, the plumber will be the second to go after the farmer because the maintenance and the tinkerer can probably figure out the plumbing.
Is the maintenance and tinker 2 different jobs or one?
One.
Okay, I counted it twice because you said
it
differently. So we'll just, for the sake of this, we'll just say tinker, not maintenance.
The tinkerer would also be important too because they're like your entry level engineer person. So if you need to start building it, like they can like look at problems and think up ideas for like systems or like gadgets and stuff to like build useful tools. Oh, blacksmith. You need somebody.
Does exist anymore?
Yeah, it would have to in this. You need to make tools somehow.
I figured we'd have to figure it out ourselves. Who makes tools now? Machines.
Yeah, machines just took over the blacksmith job.
I know. So how can you find a blacksmith? It wouldn't be a designated title.
There's people who know. Yeah, there's people who know how to do it though, because it's not just the art of the blacksmithing that's important. You also have to know how to source the metal as well, whether it's from scrap or if it's from like natural ore. Like getting the material for metallurgy is a huge undertaking that requires pretty extensive understanding. And if you run out of tools or you're limited to just stone tools, you're real limited as to what you can do. So you need somebody who can make like useful tools.
Yeah, it'd be hard to find that person. I'm just trying to.
Well, I mean, it would be. This is just. It's realistic. I know you're trying to be realistic, but this could be any profession, any person. So, like, what I want to say, it would be real hard to have like the military guy be a seer specialist.
Well, exactly. That's why I'm like, we're getting too specific. We got to be more.
You could be specific.
Realistic with it. Of like, hey, we've got a few hours to find a handful of people that we'd want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also like thinking, so like, eventually you'd want offspring in this community, right? Because the thing is, so I'm like.
Well, you already have offspring. We said there was like 4 kids there now.
Well, so 4 kids there now, but you still need breeders.
Yeah, there's still going to be more.
Yeah. So, but like then you got the doctor and the vet. They can both deliver babies. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else with like. Because you don't need a child care specialist. Anyone can.
Yeah, and
take like care any. Of children.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, not any. There's obviously some weirdos out there we wouldn't want taking care of children, but
somebody would in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this.
You would still need it though.
You'd still have it.
I mean, honestly, in this scenario, this small of a group,
you would probably just designate it to someone who's kind of.
The kids would just be hanging out while you're doing all this shit, like they're probably helping you.
And honestly, it's probably like it'll be like the 11 and 12-year-olds that are watching like the
carpenter and learning how to build shit and.
Well, I was thinking the 11, 12-year-olds would be like watching the newborns and stuff, while the other people are learning, or they're up and coming. I don't know. I have a question. It's going to be kind of controversial.
Yeah.
But, like, don't you think there'd be perks of kind of going back in time, like, if this was a scenario where women are, like, the nurturers, the teachers.
Yeah.
They raise the kids.
Yeah, you'd have to kind of go back to those ideals.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Because that's what I would think would make the most sense, because...
Yeah.
But I know that's probably like
especially.
I'm sure if you put that like on a public vote, people would be like up in arms.
What? I mean, the women still, but back then the women still had jobs and stuff too, because the
men, they did. It was like
the men would have to go and fight. The men are gonna have to go. You're gonna have to fight some other
gardening
town, some
and
stuff.
But like they still had those like, the women bring the babies up. The boys they learn the handyman's work. Yeah. And the girls learn the sewing. That's a job we'd need too, because that's not easy to make good clothes.
Yeah.
So like I think I'd add that to our list, like a seamstress.
Yeah, because to source the clothes isn't that bad. You can just get the leather from pelts and stuff. Obviously, everyone would probably.
But sewing is something that you need to learn, and you need someone who can teach people. how to make it quality. Because, like, my grandma's absolutely wonderful at it, and she's taught me some. But, like, the shit I have made in comparison to what she makes is definitely a lower quality, just because I haven't practiced enough.
Yeah.
So I definitely think someone who can, like, make clothes and stuff.
Yeah. A farmer would hopefully have some sheep or something. Sheep would be good because you can eat them, too.
And wool.
Yeah, so you can make clothes and you can eat them.
Yeah, you'd probably just kill the males and keep the females, right?
I don't know.
I'm not
too sure.
Because you'd still want babies. Oh my god, baby sheep are so cute.
Yeah.
I took piano lessons from a Mormon family, and they had a sheep farm in Michigan. And it was awesome because every time the babies would come around, I think April or May, I can't remember, they would let us go out after our piano lesson to go see the baby sheep.
That's fun.
I also, I got to help a cow deliver. Have I told you that story?
Yeah, you did actually. Wasn't it your first day in Colorado?
First day in Colorado at my uncle's.
Yeah, and you delivered a baby cow. That's fun.
It was so sick. And probably because I didn't have to do the gross part. Like my uncle had to do the reach up, get the thing, and then he's had me pull, and you pull hard on it, like, and steady. He helped walk me through it. And it's honestly, people always say, oh, that's one thing you gotta watch and see is, like, an animal, like, delivering. And
yeah.
And I definitely think, it's something so cool. Yeah. Especially something that big.
Yeah, we got off tangent a little bit here.
Sorry.
But that's fine.
Sorry. Seamstress put us at 8.
Yep, so Seamstress is 8. So we got 2 more, but I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm like, oh wait,
the good ones.
We gotta have the blacksmith in there. Do you count that one? We gotta have somebody who can make tools, man.
I know. I just don't think we're gonna find it.
All right. Yeah, I think that's finding a seamstress or finding a blacksmith is probably gonna be more likely than finding a doctor in a vet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but then I wouldn't call him a blacksmith, because where would you go and find a blacksmith right now?
Literally, there's got to be somebody on this road who does it as a hobby. I guarantee.
Oh, as a hobby, that's a
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if a hobby is more than anybody else knows right now, because most people forgot how to blacksmith.
Well, aren't you and your friend gonna?
I've never done
pick that up as a hobby.
Never done it. I hope so.
I've never done forging is what you guys are doing.
Yeah. But it's like that's still more professional than anybody else around.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about people with just hobbies, there's certain... I don't know, then I'd want someone who's like that YouTube guy who goes around in the dead cold of Alaska and does the surviving
good survivalist.
And stuff. Yeah.
Honestly, that's not a bad idea, a good survivalist.
Yeah, but we're already past our 10 now.
That's our 10, isn't it?
I think so.
With the blacksmith and the...
farmer's gonna go. I'm still convinced there's someone more useful than the farmer.
Probably.
And I do think the tinker would figure out the plumbing, to be honest.
Yeah, we could probably drop. Those would definitely be the first 2 to go.
See,
but the most important ones there are the
because
doctors and the farmer.
Honestly, though, in my scenarios, when I think of, I don't know, I kind of like to think like Red Dawn, like where that little group goes up to the mountains and hiding, and it's something my parents always said too, is like who you'd want in your foxhole.
Yeah.
To me, that's gonna be more important to me to have people that I trust.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I'd be closed off to like strangers, but there's definitely certain people I wouldn't want, no matter what their background was.
Yeah.
There's definitely a handful of people that I know that would be probably pretty decent in those scenarios, but I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw Rosie.
Oh, yeah, and pretty much every, like, The Walking Dead or any, like, apocalypse show that's out
Jericho's my favorite.
Jericho's
The Last done of Us. Really well.
Yeah, Jericho, The Last of Us, that's depicted in all of them. Mm-hmm. Like, people are going to do evil shit in those desperate situations. Because desperation does fucking wild shit to people.
Oh, yeah.
And I I try to like explain that to people that it's like, hey, if things get bad, like, because there's people out there who are like, oh, I would never do X, I would never do that. I could never do that to somebody.
Like the biggest example is eating another human being.
Well, maybe. Basically, what I was getting at here is I'm like, if you don't think that desperation is going to drive you to do wild shit, like, think about this. Have you ever heard the term hangry?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm hangry. What is... Think about what that is.
It's when you get angry because you're a little bit hungry.
Yeah.
A little bit
hungry. Imagine being a week
days without
and
food
your family's dying too.
Yeah.
What are you going to be? Where is your mind going to be at, and what are you going to be willing to do when you're that fucking angry? That's where desperation comes in, and that's what people don't understand. Is it's like once desperation sets in,
it's hard to keep yourself grounded.
You will do evil shit and not think about it. You know? Everyone will. And that's my thing, too, is people that think that they're not going to do that. I'm like, well, I know for a fact. I definitely haven't been in that situation, but I've seen people in that situation. And I'm like,
where have you seen people?
Syria. At the war refugee camps. Those people were starving to death, and it was pretty fucked up. But that, in my mind, I've seen people in desperation, and that's why I've really kind of like reconciled with what desperation is and what it's going to do to anybody who's in that situation.
I do think you're wrong in a sense.
Do I?
I do think,
or do you?
Huh?
No, sorry, I said do I, but do you?
Yes, I do think desperation will drive you to one of 2 points, not just one of 1 point. You're basically saying everybody is going to do some heinous, awful shit. But yeah, I think you're forgetting about the handful of people that just won't survive.
That are just weak? Yeah. I don't even count them.
Yeah.
I don't even count them. I'm sorry.
Not survive, not weak, but...
Yeah.
Because there is going to be a handful that don't want to cave, and it's not going to be worth... And, I mean, that's admirable, too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm sorry, when you get to the point of desperation, sometimes it's going to look better to get out than to survive.
Yes.
And I think it depends. Like, if it's me and I have no kids, what am I fighting for?
The few happy moments you might have between now and when you're dead. That's what you're fighting for. That's what would keep me alive. Because we discussed this last time, too.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, but why would I go and, like, kill somebody who has kids because I want their food?
So your kids can survive.
Well, but I don't have kids in this scenario, remember?
Then you probably won't, yeah. You probably won't do that.
But I guess then I don't have a desperation point because I don't have kids. Like right now where it's just me and you.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of easy because it's... If
I had defenseless kids relying on me, I'm going to get fucking evil to, like, help them. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think, like, too, if I have you to do it for me...
Yeah.
I mean, it's evil because I'm going to sit by, make sure our kids are fed, and I'll maybe not want to know all the details, but yeah, if you have people you're providing for, especially if you have, maybe it's not just your kids, maybe it's that foxhole people you trust. And you and I have had those conversations. We know who we trust and who we don't. Not something we really talk here because I don't like using names, but you know who's in our foxhole and who's not. For good reasons. Mm-hmm. We have a very limited foxhole.
Yeah, well, that's fewer mouths to feed. But that also limits you as to what you can do. You're kind of you have to, if you have a small group, you got to be more on the defense and be avoiding.
You know who is actually a solid tinker that I'm thinking about now?
Your grandpa.
No, your dad. Yeah, my dad too. Your dad for sure. Like, we joke because he makes some hodunk fixes sometimes.
Yeah, but he's pretty creative. Yeah,
he's creative. Like, I still, when he got that volleyball net up that one time using part of the car and part of the chicken coop, it was awesome. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean when I say tinker, someone like that. Because in that scenario, you don't need something to look pretty. Nope. Now, when I live in this house and I'm like, oh, I want something to look, I want it done right so it looks nice. Because if we ever leave this place, I don't want someone looking at some hodunk thing being like, What is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, so your dad fits the description of a tinker.
Mm-hmm.
And also fits it on Foxhole.
Yep.
He'd have to get tough quick. Everybody would.
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people would.
I think you definitely see a definite change in people.
Yeah. Well, it would go both ways. You're going to see a lot of people who you think would be really tough who get crushed.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going to see other people who are going to rise to the occasion that you didn't expect. Like that, it would go both ways.
Yeah, I thought of the person who seems really tough right away and who's going to get crushed.
Me?
No, not you.
Oh.
No, you're...
I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't think you're going to get crushed. Like
it would depend on the scenario.
I really don't think you would.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of like... I don't know. I think you can throw out your guilty conscience pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like, I think because when you are right, regardless if you're right, you know you're right.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because you're going to be right no matter what anyone tells you.
Yeah.
And so why would you feel guilty if you're in the right? And, like, so it goes into that desperation and what you're desperate enough to do to protect your family and provide for your foxhole.
That's actually funny that you described that. That was something my parents pointed out to me when I was a kid, and how they stumbled upon this thing. Basically, what you're describing is I trust myself more than I trust anybody else.
Yeah.
I will always trust myself more than anyone else. My parents pointed this out when I was a kid, because I used to be petrified when they would take me out on a canoe. I didn't like the water, I didn't like the canoe, but it's because I had somebody else on the canoe with me. Even if it was my dad, who I loved and trusted, didn't like it. I had another person on there with me. I didn't have control over what they were doing. On a kayak, I loved a kayak, because nobody else was controlling the kayak but me. And then they realized that. They're like, that's why you like the kayak. You don't like having to rely on anybody else. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly it.
You fucking hate me in a canoe, dude.
Yeah, I would.
Because I'm always wanting to go in.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not graceful.
I know.
I'm a mermaid.
I know you are.
A fat mermaid, but a mermaid nonetheless. I just that canoe image. I'm like, oh my god, he would have been. I used to rock the boat for fun to get my sister to
fucking
scream.
hated you, man. I would have freaked out.